there'll just be these little moments where I'm walking down the street and I just think, oh, I'm at Oxford, like.
The best thing about Hilda's, again, it's just the people you meet, and our atmosphere here is so laid back and very just normal, which I did not expect coming to Oxford. I thought it would be very, very different, and I had a lot of preconceived ideas. But yeah, I think it's just very normal, very down to earth, and we all look out for each other, which is lovely. I think the worst thing is possibly, I think the lack of student rooms. And maybe just the lack of general funding that we have compared to other colleges who have been around for hundreds of years. But that's why we're doing things like the Telethon, which I'm getting involved in, to raise money for the college and put us more on the map.
I think the best thing about Hilda's is like the diversity of people you meet here. So it's kind of not just these like stereotypical Oxford students. It's such a wide range of people that come from so many areas and so many backgrounds and are interested in so many different things that I think your world picture really widens while you're here, and also your interests, and you try things you wouldn't necessarily try because of the people you have around you. So that's like students, tutors, kind of everyone. You've got such a diverse mix of people. I think it's really great. My favourite place in college is definitely Wolfson, because that's where I lived in my first year, and I think I was obviously really scared coming to St Hilda's. I think everyone was, because it's such a change, like leaving your parents. But I just remember meeting people on my corridor and the corridor above and below, and just thinking like, feeling really happy there, and that it's got so many happy memories for me of like going to see my friends for like tea breaks during revision and stuff, and just meeting like so many strong friends there that I hope will be like my friends for life.
The best thing about St Hilda's, and this is something that I think pretty much everyone at St Hilda's will say, is that it just feels a bit more welcoming and a bit more homely than a lot of the other colleges. You know, you don't have the really big grand spires and the quads, but it feels, there's a much more relaxed vibe around the place. I think that's common to a lot of the other students here. A lot of the alumni that I've spoken to said the same thing. You can walk on the grass, you can sit and have a picnic on the grass. You're not going to have someone screaming at you for doing that. Oh, round tables as well in the dining hall. It's funny how these small things, like being able to sit on the grass, having round tables in the dining hall, they can actually make quite a big difference.
There are so many passionate, talented, smart people around, and it's such an invigorating place to be in intellectually.
My favourite place in college would have to be outside South Building, kind of on a summer evening. It's really lovely. Everyone's kind of just sitting out on the lawn, kind of chatting. Some people are revising. It's just like a really nice atmosphere. And because we have like a really lovely view of Christchurch Meadows, it's just like one of the most beautiful places in Oxford, I think, although I might be biased. Within the first 4 or 5 weeks of Michaelmas term, you are expected to have arranged accommodation for yourself for next year. And obviously you've only known these people for a month, which is a really daunting prospect. Luckily, I kind of knew very early on who I thought I'd want to live with, and a lot of the people that I'm living with next year, I actually already live with on a floor, so I can gauge what they're going to be like living out. But it's very, very stressful. Oxford landlords aren't sympathetic to our needs, and the fact that we're students, I think they don't really seem to care about. It's very, very expensive, and I'm not looking forward to the rent. We'd heard good things about it because we'd expressed interest in another house, and then another group bought it underneath us. So then we heard good things about another house, and by this point, like half of the houses were off the market. So we were like, let's just get it. So none of us had seen it. And then I went by myself with the estate agent, and I looked around, and thankfully it's okay. I didn't find any mould.
I have, so we have, this is so disgusting, we have mushrooms growing all around the skirting board in our upstairs bathroom. So they're like, they're awful, and they just come out at any time and you're not expecting them, and you look behind the toilet and there's just like infestation of mushrooms. But our landlord just thinks it's quite funny.
And there were 5 of us looking to get a house. But 2 of our group, because we were all from different colleges, 2 of the group had guaranteed 3 years college accommodation. And they pulled out at the last minute. the rest of us were kind of like in the lurch. But I managed to sort out the accommodation offer, so I'm going to be living in college next year. So they don't like, if you do struggle to find a house, whatever, Hilda isn't going to leave you to sleep on the street, which is nice. But that's what happens, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you've only known each other for a few weeks. You have to find a house in your first term. And there is a lot of pressure.
Apart from that, it's been okay. Our shower room downstairs is now completely black because of like mould, and
It just adds yet another thing that you have to think about, and then you can't put that brain power towards doing your degree, the thing you're actually here to do. So yeah, I much prefer living in.
my room's also just tiny, so I have the smallest room in the house, but you can't actually open the door without it hitting the wardrobes. You kind of have to like side shuffle into my bedroom. It's not ideal, but it's fun.
So what I liked about living in first year was that kind of everyone was together, which I think was really, really crucial at that point. You had to make new friends essentially, so kind of being in one place made it a lot easier. I like the fact that my friends were literally like a stone's throw away. I mean, it was nice kind of having everything really close to you. So it's kind of, if I needed to nip to the library, I could just do so in my pyjamas. I could go downstairs to the dining hall in my pyjamas. Kind of just having everything right at your fingertips was really, really convenient.
Oh, we had another one too, actually. The floorboards so we have like 3 floors, and the floorboards of one of the top bedrooms broke, and like a gallon of water fell through and straight onto my friend's MacBook, breaking it, and then the landlord wouldn't pay for a new one. Yeah, so we've had our fair few horror stories.
For example, in my bedroom, I've got like a bookshelf that's kind of built into the wall, and I'm packing up for to leave last term. I took all my books out, and I saw the wall was filled with like black mold, which was horrible. But I guess that's kind of how it is.
But I think you kind of do just become accustomed to a low standard of living, and then when you go into like the college rooms, when we were looking around for our third year, it's kind of like, oh wow, this is what we used to live like.
I think what a guaranteed student room would mean for everyone is just a lack of headache and stress, which is just completely unnecessary because so many other colleges are able to provide students with accommodation throughout their 3 years, no questions asked. And that's really, I think that's also something that attracts students to apply to those colleges. I know that on the Oxford website, when you're thinking about what colleges to apply to, you can use filters, and one of them is guaranteed accommodation for 3 years. And I used that filter to narrow down which colleges I wanted to apply to, and obviously Hilda's wasn't part of that. But I'm really excited that we're going to be putting ourselves more on the map. And I think it's just another way of the college showing that it cares about its students, and yeah, it makes us more competitive as a college.
I think there's like a really lovely community feel when you're in college and all being close together, which I loved when I was in my first year living in Wolfson. And I think knowing that that's something that you could benefit from and enjoy for your whole like 3 or 4 years while you're here would be something really special, and something that I think is really unique to Oxford as a university. It'd be great to kind of like bring that into our college and know that you could live in this kind of like really nice college bubble where everything's slightly easier, but it's kind of needed to be easier because our degrees are so intense. So I think knowing that that's something we could benefit from would be really, really brilliant, and something that's really exciting, I think.
Accommodation was one thing. It was one of the main things that people were looking at these colleges was the accommodation night, because everyone wants to be in a nice, have a nice room. And Hilda's having better accommodation would definitely help it be more competitive. And just the fact that it kind of raises the profile of the college in general. It gets it on the map a bit, because I'd never heard of Hilda's. I mean, of all the sort of colleges that my friends were debating, I mean, the ones that kept coming up was Christchurch, because it's got the Harry Potter Hall, and then John's, because everyone knows it's just filthy rich.
Building campaign is they're currently putting down the foundations, I believe. There's going to be teaching spaces and social spaces. There's going to be a tower by the entrance and a roof garden and a lovely pavilion where people can look out across the river. And most importantly, we'll be able to provide student accommodation for all 3 years, which I think will be massively meaningful to future students of St Hilda's. It will also make it so much easier on students financially, and will allow them to really not have to worry about that and just enjoy their time at St Hilda's and enjoy learning and do the best they can.
One of the best things about Hilda's is the community and the lovely people here. So kind of having everyone together in one space again, I think would be a really great thing, because, you know, kind of living out, you may feel a little bit isolated, but sort of having everyone here just reaffirms that community. So it's really great that Hilda's is, you know, ensuring that everyone can live in college and making college as accessible as possible in that way. One of the things that I really love about St Hilda's is that they make sure that their students are looked after in the college, and that they make sure that everyone can thrive and enjoy their time here regardless of kind of financial background, and they offer kind of a load of bursaries. I myself claimed a book grant in first year, which might seem like a really small thing, but you know, when you're moving out for the first time, you don't really know how to manage money properly yet, and you know, you're given a really, really big reading list and you have to buy some of the books, and some of them can be quite expensive. It was really helpful for Hilda's.
Obviously, we all come from different financial backgrounds, and I mean, the student loans just don't cover often even accommodation for lots of people, and I think especially this year, privately renting, so many people have benefited so much from the bursaries in terms of having a constant support while they're here. Also in terms of like smaller things like book grant, travel grant, hardship fund, they're really brilliant source in times. I've used a few of those, and that's really useful because if like you get a financial expenditure you weren't expecting, then you've kind of got something that can cover you, and that's really, really useful.
I've received a bursary from the college, and I get the Maritime Scholarship as well. So I mean, those two have really helped, because the cost of living in Oxford is just ridiculous, basically. And you know, I'm eligible for the full maintenance loan, but even that doesn't really cover all my living expenses. And having those bursaries and scholarships, it takes a lot of the stress out of studying at Oxford. It means I can focus on the actual studying.
We are kind of widening our bursary scheme so that even I've heard of people who have broken a pair of glasses and they've been able to actually get the funding from the bursary scheme to replace that pair of glasses. And I think that's really important, because sometimes the smallest problems can become the biggest headaches when you're a student. So I think the bursary scheme is doing a really great job.
Speaking to a lot of alumni on the phone as part of the 125th anniversary campaign, a lot of them have said that, you know, they love Hilda's, they had a great time here and they wouldn't have gone anywhere else, and that they loved their experience here so much. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. Hilda's has offered people a second home, you know, a great education, and I think it's really great to kind of give back to the community that kind of embraced you, and give back to the community that gave you a world-class education, especially because, you know, it was a women's college, and it paved the way for sort of women's education. And I think it's really great to give back to that and to kind of ensure that future students will have the same great experience as you did. The college landscape might change, but I feel because St Hilda's has a really great community aspect to it, and at the centre of St Hilda's is kind of its ethos of equality, and kind of being very welcoming to everyone. I think in 125 years you'll still find that there are still going to be really lovely people here, and really welcoming people, and really, really encouraging tutors as well.
St Hilda's currently, I think, has a really good reputation for being this diverse college who bring such a variety of people to the Oxford University landscape. So hopefully we can just continue to have that reputation in 125 years and maybe kind of be part of the movement that mobilises change in Oxford, because I think Oxford has quite a bad reputation for access and the people that it allows in, and I think hopefully we can be at like the forefront of the colleges that are really like driving through the change that is currently happening and kind of just needs to continue happening and accelerate into the future. From the alumni I've spoken to on the telethon, it seems like everyone did have a brilliant time here, and St Hilda's did do so much for so many people, and I think it's really important to give back to something that for many people they didn't even pay tuition fees for, in terms of allowing future students to have the education that they have. And it's so important that we continue to offer this higher education to so many people that might not necessarily think they can achieve it or think they can have it.
The college bursary that I'm getting, this is the first year that the college has been able to do it, and obviously, that's pretty much a direct result of our 125th anniversary campaign. But I would not be getting that money if it wasn't for the support of our alumni. So them giving really is having an impact. It really is making a difference. And it would be a shame if Hilda's were to struggle and not be able to sort of provide for its students in the best way that it could. And Hilda's is unique among the other colleges. I mean, it might not be obviously single sex anymore, but that doesn't mean that it's strayed in any way from its founding principles. Oxford as a whole has got a long way to go as a university, and I think Hilda's is probably one of the colleges that is best placed to be at the front of any change that occurs.
So, unlike other charities, St Hilda's only has a limited pool of people for whom it can reasonably ask for donations. Charities like UNICEF and Greenpeace, as important as they are, can ask essentially anybody to donate to them, whereas we can only reasonably ask alumni to give. So that support is so invaluable and really has an incredible impact upon the college and improves life here. Change is the only constant, and St Hilda's will continue to grow and develop and be able to improve on the access it offers. In the future, hopefully we'll have this lovely welcoming atmosphere, and hopefully we will be even more committed to student support and even more committed to access and to improve the support we can offer to students from more financially disadvantaged backgrounds. I think that would be really excellent.
I think it's almost a responsibility to give what you can and give what you can comfortably to ensure that future students can benefit from the same opportunities as yourself. I'm really excited to see the current developments, and I'm sure in 125 years there'll be plenty more. And I think we'll actually be a lot more recognised than we currently are, which I'm really excited about because we're just so underappreciated.